back when I had a massive accident in 2007, at the end of 2007, you know, I was cut down pretty badly, and you know, always rely on your family, and you know, make sure you have them close to you, and you know, they've been fantastic for me for my entire life. So, you know, I love my family. They're so cool.
Well, that was David Reynolds. He's going to be our special guest today. Welcome to episode 28 of the Vision Board podcast. I'm Tristan Cannell. Alongside me, Johnny Stofko.
What's up, everyone? Dave Reynolds in the house.
Definitely. It's been a little bit different. Obviously, we've had fitness experts. We've had athletes ranging from boxers or champion boxers to UFC fighters. So it'd be good to get a perspective from David on motorsport, because I know we're both big fans of cars and things like that. So
yeah, the Need for Speed V8 supercar. David Reynolds. That was a good game. I was awful at it, but I played it.
I didn't mind it. What about Daytona? Did you play Daytona?
Man, I was terrible. I never was good at video games. I think that was a good thing in hindsight.
Keeps you outside, I guess. I think today's kids, they probably watch a little bit too much and play too much. Or just play too much.
But I think that we're at the generation of it's the adults who were the kids not too long ago who played games, and now it's just like this pattern that started. But yeah, David Reynolds, V8 sports car driver.
Yeah, it should be sweet. So
supercar.
Before we get him on, just a big shout out to our major sponsor, Populous. Populous, a boutique international management consulting company. So we're lucky to have them on. They specialise in helping businesses transform and take the next step in financial growth.
Yeah, Populous, this company emphasizes the importance of leadership within the business. Also, they've developed happiness programs, and they also promote substantial growth when they latch on to these companies.
Definitely, guys. So check them out. www.populous, that's spelled populis.com.au. Also, don't miss out on their show, the Leadership Show. Pretty much they have on top CEOs and leaders from across different sectors of our community.
Yeah, I checked the Leadership Show out via iTunes. You can find them on SoundCloud as well. And like you just said, they had recently, they do some awesome ideas and giving the listener, the audience, a perspective from successful CEOs, and then also everyday quarrels that people might have, like, should I leave this job? Should I move abroad? That's the episode I just listened to. Yeah. So definitely check the Leadership Show out.
Definitely. But now, guys, we welcome our guest, David Reynolds.
It makes me wanna breathe. I got something for your mind, your body, and your soul. I got something for your mind, your body, and your soul.
The Vision Board Podcast, hosted by Johnny Stofko and Tristan Cannell.
All right, our special guest today is David Reynolds. David is one of the leading drivers in the V8 Supercar Championship. We welcome David Reynolds. Welcome, David.
Hey guys, how you going?
Yeah, we're really well. Thanks for coming on today, man. We're really
no worries, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, David. The one thing I love to ask our guests is basically a question on intent and purpose, and regarding what you do for a living at the highest level. Where did that purpose, your need for speed, manifest itself? How old were you?
Oh man, I don't know. Good question. I don't know. I think I've got a few reasons why I ended up racing cars. Because one, I was fucking hopeless at school, so I had to do something. And two, probably my dad. He used to race rally cars late '80s, early '90s, and just I don't know, by I suppose living what's the word? We're living his failed dreams of glory, I think.
Walking the footsteps of the father.
Yeah. I've got an older brother. He's 3 years older than me. And when he was about 7 or 8, he got a go-kart. And then the next year I got a go-kart, so I was about 6 years old. And ever since then we've been, in racing at some point in our lives. Even my mother was racing at one point. She was racing karts. Like myself, my mum, my dad, and my brother were all racing. It was weird. It was like a family affair, but we were going go-karting.
Was there ever any, in regards to that, was there ever any pressure? Are you the one that's made it to the, regarding your family, the highest level? Are you always just been able to get in the car and just have that mindset of I'm just going for myself? Or do you ever have this pressure of feeling the need you have to basically live up to someone's standards?
Yeah, no, not at all. I think racing's like any other sport. I was always quite good at any ball hand-eye coordination sport they threw at me. And, racing's just another one. So when I jumped into go-karting, I was, pretty good at that straight away. And once I learned, racecraft and, the proper technique and all the lines and stuff, I became really good at it. And then on top of that, you got to learn the mechanical side and the engineering side. So instead of like studying during school, I was, cleaning my go-kart, fixing it up, working on it and stuff like that. And that's kind of how it transpired into, a professional career for me.
Dave, how do you go from racing, obviously, go-karts to the real thing? Like, what's the step there?
Oh, man, it's motorsport's it's a funny game. Like, they say if you want to make a living in motorsport, you got to start with a lot of money. It's shit. Like, you basically got to almost buy your experience early on in your career, and then later on you get paid for that. If that makes any sense, because go-karting, if you do like the whole 3 championships these days, it might cost you 10 to 15 grand.
Yeah.
To go travel around, tyres, fuel, all that stuff, maybe even more. The next step up from that was Formula Ford, and that's about $100,000 to $200,000 a year. And then the next step after that, what I did was Carrera Cup, and that's $200,000 to $300,000 a year, which is But I was lucky that my old man was a dentist and he could kind of pay for a little bit.
Yep.
But once I was old enough, once I was 20 years old, I actually figured out how to get sponsorship and use other people's money to try and get to where I need to go. And those people that helped me out early in my career, I'm still very good friends with today.
Excellent. Could you talk about...
Does that sort of sum it up? Because
that's good. Because I was
obviously
thinking about getting into it, so I thought, how do I get from go-karts to the real thing?
Yeah, this guy, he's racing bumper cars at the local mall, though. Like, come on, man. I think the standards are a little over your head, young man. What is you got your season coming up, and the length of the season, your conditioning. What does your week look like in regards to getting ready for that, both physically and mentally? Could you talk a little bit with us about that?
Yeah, for sure. Like, everyone's slightly different, and no one does the same things. Because there's 25 drivers, and I assume my own personal take on it is that they all have their own sort of preparation going into a week. But like my week might start out like tapered training, so you can actually end up fresh at the race meeting, because it's the race meeting is really hard on your adrenal glands, because you're living at such a high level for the 12, 13 hour days, four days in a row. You really take a hiding, so you got to be fresh going into it. Usually I see my masseur. I go to a kinesiologist, chiropractor, and I go to a sports psychologist, where we do a whole bunch of planning, reaction time tests, making sure I'm up to the task, things like that. So that sort of happens a week out of the race meeting.
Are you doing this type of work only in season, or is this something that it's part of your normal routine?
Well, no. Our season's it goes from March till December, so technically you're almost always in season, but you don't really get a big break. We only race 15 times a year, but it's spread out over such a long time that you don't really have any downtime.
Dave, you finished third last year. Obviously, that was your best place finish so far. What did you do differently last year?
What did I do differently? Many different things. Like, one thing, the car obviously changed. The start of last year, we had the FG model, and then one round in, I got the new FGX model. That's a Ford branding thing, and it was aero tested to have a few more. It might be 50 more kilos of downforce, which in our game is a lot. When we're looking at a few tenths of a second, 50 kilos of downforce can make all the difference, and that was honestly the biggest thing that happened, that changed in the car. But me personally, I changed my training. I planned a lot better. I just did everything I possibly could to So when I rocked up to the track, I knew I was more prepared than the next person. Sometimes that works, sometimes it didn't. But, motorsport's a funny game, man. It's not like another sport like say tennis, where if your backhand, your serve's not good, you just go work on your serve. In motor racing, you can't really do that. It's all based on theory, engineering, science. There's so much possibility you can change with roll centers, roll bars, springs, anti-dive, squat. There's a massive spreadsheet that the engineers sort of go through before each session, and it's just a ridiculous number thing. Like it honestly blows your mind. I don't even understand that they do. So they go to uni and stuff, and they study all this stuff. But we talk about there's 33 million different combinations you can run in the car, as far as all the cambers, toes, roll bars, all that stuff. So our sport's more of a science-based sport than an actual skill-based sport.
It also sounds to me that you're being the driver and the nucleus of that machine. You're putting a lot of trust in other people in regards to their preparation of having you be safe in the best vehicle, opportunity to win. I've been reading a lot about astronauts and pilots, and a lot of these studies are talking about gravitational force, G-force, and this phenomenon that occurs of blood being pulled from the brain, and they can lose consciousness, so they do things to train for that. You being in the car going at those speeds, is there any specific exercise, way of training that you guys do to prepare for those speeds?
Yeah, well, like everyone's kind of different. But what you're talking about is like is it longitudinal or latitudinal gravity?
Yeah.
The force, I don't know, they call it X and Y gravity, but the one that the pilots always that's when if they go in like a roll or something, their blood can go from their brain down their body, and that's when they can lose consciousness, apparently. Same with IndyCar drivers and NASCAR drivers. But we don't deal with that vertical G. We deal with mainly, horizontal and longitudinal Gs.
Have you seen it?
Yeah. Sorry, there was do I do any training? Yeah, I do heaps of training. Like, we train all the time. But lately I've been bitten by the bug of martial arts, like kickboxing. I love it.
Yeah,
it's the coolest sport ever.
You've been at a few fights and you've been putting the pads on and stuff.
Yeah, we just we just had
John
Wayne on.
John Wayne Parr just came on the other day. So.
Oh yeah, he's pretty good to talk to. Hey.
Yeah, you should go up to his gym. He's very open about it.
Is he at Bonju in Gold Coast?
Yeah,
man.
With the training, and I was always wondering too, some of the races are just super long, 5-6 hours. What does the body feel like after? And talk about some recovery you're doing post-race with us.
So yeah, in the V8 season, I've just done a 12-hour race at Bathurst, and that's a GT3 category race, which is all your dream cars go there, Ferraris, Mercedes, Porsche, Lamborghini, Ferrari, and you name anything, any car you ever dreamed of is there racing against each other, and that goes for 12 hours. We share it with 3 drivers. Yeah, man, it's a really tough day. It's so long, and it's not so much the physical aspect is quite hard, but it's more the mental aspect, because you got to be on song, on point for the entire time. You can't really drop the ball at any point, because you're trying to input and help the engineering strategy. You're trying to, even when you jump in the car, you got to be on song. So what happens is, like I spoke about, the adrenal burnout on the Monday afterwards. Say we race on a Sunday, the Monday afterwards, you're just so flat for sometimes 4 or 5 days, because you just had such a high for so long that you got to come down eventually. So a lot of rest. You got to eat well. Try and have no sugar, so you get no inflammation response. Hyperbaric chamber works really well for us, but mainly it's just sleep and rest.
David?
But the biggest thing we have to deal with, I forgot to touch on this. The biggest thing we have to deal with is the heat of the car.
Yeah.
Because in the supercar, it gets 25 degrees above ambient temperature. So if if it's like a really hot day outside, say if it's like 30 or 35, it's going to be 60 degrees in the car. And you just literally cook yourself from the inside. It is ridiculously hot, and you got to sustain that heat for like 2 to 3 hours. This is funny. My first ever race. I'm like, oh, okay, this can't be too hard. So I weighed myself before I got in the car, and I weighed myself after the race, and I lost 5.5 kilos in 2 hours.
Jesus. That's probably going to be my next question about like hydration and things, because obviously when I'm driving, you know, I'll probably stop every couple of hours to maybe go to the toilet or something like that.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever get in the situation where you feel that
you need to go? Like I've never done it, but I know people that definitely piss in the seat. You can smell it by when you walk past them after the race, and you smell their car afterwards. It smells like piss.
Yeah.
But I've heard of like the older guys used to go number 2 as well.
Oh, Jesus.
Honestly, I don't know how they do that, because like you're strapped in so tight. I don't know how they can force that out.
They must be wearing a nappy or something.
Nappy, yeah, it could be.
That's old school. Well,
That's real old school.
There was a gnarly story in America a couple years ago about this woman astronaut, and she was caught in this love triangle, and she was from Texas, and she drove from Texas to Florida and got pulled over for speeding, and she was wearing diapers.
So she couldn't stop.
So she couldn't stop. And that's what that reminds me of.
What?
Yeah, it's crazy. You should Google that. And she was like this super educated, highly motivated woman, and that I guess the point of the story is, man, women. What can women do to us, man? They make us go.
Yeah. Oh man.
I guess that's
they're hard work sometimes.
Oh yeah, I think the things best for us are always the things that are the most difficult, though.
Yeah.
Dave,
it's so true, isn't it?
Yeah.
absolutely. Dave, what's the fastest you've ever driven?
Well, the fastest I've ever driven?
Yeah.
About probably the V8 supercar. We do about just below 300 k's down Conrad straight back this.
Awesome. How do you switch back when you go back to? You might have to go to Woolworths to pick something up from the shops or pick up a costume.
How do I switch off?
Back to going to 60 kilos?
Well, when I first started, this was like a really big thing for me when I first started racing, like doing like cars. Like when I left the track and I sat on 110, like the speed limit, it was so slow. I used to fall asleep half the time. I used to like struggle to keep myself awake because the speed limit was so slow. But now I don't know. I've just kind of got used to it. I think like I don't really, unless I'm in a rush. That's when I sort of put my foot down. And people toot at me and probably think I'm a dickhead, but you know, I think I know what I'm doing. It's a skill sometimes you use, but rarely.
Please tell me.
I'm probably not supposed to say that, but I don't care.
Oh, you say whatever you want. I'm actually gonna soften things up even more. Please tell me you've seen Talladega Nights.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Of course. Okay, so in America, people are so sensitive, and I remember when that hit, because it's a parody. If anyone's listening, it's a parody on like the culture in America with the race car drivers.
Yeah.
And I could go back and forth quoting it. I love Will Ferrell. But
yeah, so do I. Everyone thinks I look like him.
Dude, the one picture of you're doing this stoic. You're in your uniform. Your uniform, and you're doing this stoic look to the left, and it reminds me of Will Ferrell from Old School when he's getting married, and there's a photo in the back, and he's just looking like out in the distance. But
oh yeah, I love that movie.
Oh man! So my question is, if you were to pick one of them, John C. Reilly's character or Will Ferrell in that movie, Shake and Bake, who are you?
Probably Will Ferrell. Have to be.
Okay.
Because everyone, even my girlfriend goes, "How can you look at that person and think you don't look like him?" Even my girlfriend says that.
Yeah, I don't know. Will Ferrell, I wouldn't say that you guys look alike.
No, if I had like a curly Jew for a hair type thing, maybe.
Are you so in terms of back to we have a lot of our guys, a lot of our friends we hang out with, they're in like strength and conditioning. They were wanting me to ask you, are you doing any specific rigorous strength programs, Olympic lifting, anything like that?
Well, not really. Like the strength part's not really part of our training exercises. But like we just have to be fit, deal with the heat, and as long as you got some sort of base fitness, you can basically get through any race. You get used to it. But I like I've been doing this like obviously kickboxing because I really enjoy it, and I like love it. I'd go 3-4 days a week if I could. But lately I've been doing I've just started seeing a movement specialist because I've got a dead sesamoid bone on my foot. Have you ever heard of that?
What was that again?
It's like a sesamoid bone has died in my right foot.
Is that in your heel?
No, it's like at the ball of your foot, like where your big toe sits.
Okay.
It sits on the tendon, and like I think it regulates the tendon. I think, and it's like a little corn-sized bone, and it's died. And yeah, it sucks, man. So I'm seeing this like foot movement specialist to try and get my feet working properly, and you know how they look at your gait, which is like your walk, and make sure you're not toeing in or out, and trying to take some stress and make your feet move and work properly. I'm seeing one of those guys, you know, of late. I've only had a few sessions, but it seems to be going really good.
Does it hurt when you kick?
Well, it used to. It even hurt when I stood on it. Like I was in some severe pain from sort of September till December last year, and I looked at getting it cut out, but you know I didn't want to have 6 weeks recovery, and then you talk to other doctors and say no, you never get them cut out, and then I don't know. So I'm sort of waiting for my body to either eat it up, like it tries to push the little bone in the bloodstream and eat it up, or it, I don't know, gets better.
Could you? Yeah.
Sorry, you go.
I was gonna ask you about basically getting ready. Say the race is gonna start in maybe 10 minutes, and it's a big one, and you need to win this race. What is your mindset? Are you going into it like with this reckless mindset of just no such thing as fear, I'm winning this race, or are you cautious on some different levels, or is it even possible to be cautious and successful?
Yeah, like if you see most of us drivers before every race, we're quite relaxed, and you know, there's not a lot of us. Well, I don't know if I know of anyone that's like really hyper before a race. Everyone's quite relaxed and chilled out and just taking the moment. That's basically me. But I used to do all this training like this, this heart rate based training, right? It was really good. It was based on like a triathlon sort of Ironman training. So I used to do the principle was 180 minus your age, and that would be your maximum heart rate. I'm going into some quite weird stuff here, but if you can follow me, that'd be cool.
Yeah, good.
So 180 minus your heart rate. So at the time I was like, say, 25. So my maximum heart rate I would ever go to on the bike, run, swim would be 155, which doesn't seem like a lot. And when I first started this training, I was like, fuck, this is so slow. Like, say if I did a 5K run, it would normally take me, say, 23 minutes or 22 minutes or something. When I first started doing this heart rate based training, it took me like 29 and a half minutes. So like really, really, really slow. I'm like, this is shit. Why am I doing this? This is crap. So then I persisted for like 6 months, and 9 months later, I was running that same 5K at like 19 minutes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like I became really, really, really efficient at this certain heart rate, and the whole purpose of this thing was to try and teach yourself to burn fat more effectively. Because anything over that heart rate, they say you stop burning fat and you start burning like ATP, and you start using all these other things. But when I was burning fat, I was real effective. But in the car, my heart rate wouldn't get over like 100 beats per minute.
Wow,
that's crazy.
Or 110 or 120. Like, but then it was almost too low, and I wouldn't have like the adrenaline going. I wouldn't have the reflex action. I wouldn't have, I was kind of almost half asleep all the time. It was kind of weird.
Are you talking about while you were training this style, or while you're racing?
Well, while I did all the training stuff to try and
to get you there,
help my racing, but I kind of went way too far in the opposite direction, in that direction, and it made me too slow.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. My reaction was too slow because my heart rate was too low. Yeah. So
have you read anything about the flow state? Psychology.
Yeah.
Has this ever happened to you? Like, have you ever finished a race and in hindsight you look back and you're like, I don't remember any of it?
I do that all around town. I don't think that's flow state. We call it trance driving.
Yeah, they talk about it. I think the one famous story of that was Ali versus Cleveland Williams in a famous boxing match, and it was his best performance. And I guess the flow state talks about when athletes, anyone who's creative, painters, artists, get into this headspace of you're just so connected with your skill and craft that you're just clicking. Yeah. You're clicking on all cylinders, no pun intended, and things just just work out, and you really don't remember these moments.
Sometime, probably a lot of time that happens, but for our job we have to recall information. We have to almost remember every lap, every corner, every moment that happened. But sometimes, like, you'll be racing, right? You'll be in like the heat of a battle, and you'll have like a minor shunt with someone, like, bash their door or, drill them from behind or something, and then afterwards they come and half abuse you, and you've forgotten all about it. They'll come up to you and go, "Oh, you fucking dickhead, you fucking crashed into me," and I'm like, I don't remember that. I think that's probably part of it.
Interesting. Dave, I've got a question from one of your biggest fans. His name's Craig Taylor. He works out in our gym. He goes to Bathurst every year. Now,
Does he? What a legend.
Yeah. It's a little bit strange, but he wants to know. In 2012, you came second at Bathurst.
Yeah.
He said that you previously mentioned that you would go nude on podium if you won. Craig's question is, when you win this year, will you go naked?
I shouldn't open my mouth, should I? I say the stupidest stuff. I just do. I just can't help myself. It's just the way I'm born. I'm from Albury, Wodonga, and I just, I don't know, just say the most stupid random shit. Would I? I don't know. Depends.
So that's a yes.
It depends if the moment's right, and I knew I was going to have a job for a bit longer, maybe. But say if it was last year, and I knew like I didn't have my contract re-signed, and I was going to probably lose my job, I probably wouldn't do it.
How long have you signed for the new team, the Erebus Motorsport team?
2 to 4 years.
Good. So you're back in Holden. You happy about that?
Yeah, man, back in Holden. I'm reasonably happy. I knew going to that team, the Mercedes, were going to be, a little bit of a struggle because the results haven't been very good since they joined. But it was kind of weird because when I signed the deal, I was like, I have to go race a Mercedes, and I'll be battling for 10th and 15th and stuff. And when we won't be making many results, and then a few months down the track, they switched to Holden, and I was like, oh, how cool is this? something I can work with.
Dave, what's the rivalry like now? Because obviously I'm a couple of years older than you, and when we grew up, like, even at school, some people had Ford jackets, people had Holden jackets. Now with manufacturers coming in, is the rivalry still as bitter as it was when we grew up, or has it kind of died down a little bit?
It's in the older generation, it's still definitely Ford and Holden bad. Like, if you read some of my Facebook stuff about me going to Holden and stuff, you get the odd person telling me off about how I've dumped Ford and stuff, which is totally not the case because I was happy to stay at my last team at ProDrive, and then the way it worked out, they just couldn't keep me, so I had to move on. And then I joined the Mercedes team that then flipped to Holden, so I didn't even have a say in that part as well. So, but yeah, it's the rivalry is still very, very strong between Ford and Holden. But all like Nissan, Volvo, and Mercedes that came in, you do have a lot of people following, but there's not as much hatred, I suppose. I'd say not as much hatred between those type of brands than they are the Ford and Holden brand.
What's your favorite thing about being a professional race car driver?
My favourite thing about professional race car driving?
Yeah.
Before I had my girlfriend, I would have said the grid girls.
The what?
The grid girls.
The grid girls. I thought you said the Greek girls.
The Greek girls. No. Before that, definitely was grid girls, but now
Are you
happily...
banned from looking at the grid girls, mate?
No. I'm just banned from talking to them for life.
And then on the
my girlfriend was one, so that's sort of how I met her.
Okay.
So I'm kind of happy about them.
She was on Big Brother, yeah?
Yeah, she was on Big Brother, yeah.
All right. And
in
then
2013.
on the contrary to the same question, if there was one thing about the sport, your sport, that you're really good at, what would you change?
How do you mean? One
Like,
thing
is there something about your profession that you do that maybe you're not totally head over heels for, that you dislike?
Oh yeah, many different things. I think it's like any job. Once you get into it, you go, oh, I don't really like doing that. I don't really like doing that, but I love doing that. And I love doing that. It's always
So you kind
it's
of
always the same.
measure the pros versus the cons, and
Yeah. Obviously, like the best thing about being a race, having my job is, I don't work 9 to 5. I don't have an office. I don't have somewhere I have to be all the time. I can sort of roam free during the week and do what I want. Like yesterday, what did I do yesterday? Can't even remember. I must have been in flow state.
right on.
Honestly, I can't remember what I did yesterday.
I love the flow state.
Obviously, it was an important day. Oh no, that's right. That was the day before. I went kickboxing and did some filming with Channel 10 and RPM. And then I went and saw my foot doctor dude. And then I went home. I was home by like 4 o'clock, and I was just hanging out. Made dinner. I'm like a housewife though, since I got all this free time. I do all the cooking, cleaning, washing. I don't do any ironing. I fold them, yeah, definitely.
Oh, you are. You're like a single mom.
So
I am like a single mum. But the worst thing is my girlfriend. She so I do everything. I fold the clothes and stuff, and I put them on her side of the bed so she can put them away. But they would honestly remain there for like a week.
Yeah.
The clothes on the bed.
There's a metaphor. You need the acknowledgement. You need her to know that you did it.
Yeah, exactly. And there's none of that.
I fold the clothes as well.
So
It's hard being a male these days because we're expected to do everything.
I know. So many expectations.
And I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday about it. He goes, he's expected to do everything that the woman can do inside the house and expected to do what he's normally do outside the house, like fix the car, mow the grass, do the gardening, fix everything outside and do the inside at the same time. It's really hard, apparently.
Yeah,
I live in an apartment, so I've got no grass, so I don't care.
They put so many expectations on what a man is supposed to be like, and I'm always like, we're still apes. We have body hair. We haven't evolved enough yet to where like they expect way too much.
Yes, exactly.
I totally agree.
Full. I could talk about this topic for hours.
Dave, how do you go in the kitchen? Because you're a big paleo guy, aren't you?
Yeah, man. I'm pretty good in the kitchen. Like, how did you guys eat a certain way?
I actually just avoid it's not too scripted. I avoid basically any high-fat, fried, sugary foods.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I keep it simple. Like if it has labels, I pretty much avoid it.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's good. That's a very good way. I'm basically the same, but you get into like a standard sort of routine diet, I suppose. Like in the morning have bacon, eggs, avocado. No, I don't eat any gluten or any of that stuff, so I don't have any bread.
Yeah.
And I've been drinking bulletproof coffee. Have you heard about that?
Yeah, we chatted with there's a gentleman named Tate Fletcher. He's an American.
Yeah. I've heard of him.
Yeah, so we had Tate on a couple weeks ago, and he started a company called Caveman Coffee. You should check him out. And that he was educating on us about the raw butter.
Yeah, the butter, MCT oil, and like a long black all blended together.
And are you doing that once a day?
Yeah, once a day, yeah.
But
The good thing about that is like you have breakfast and then that, and then you honestly, because you had so much fat and there's so much energy in the fat that you don't want to eat for like 8 hours. You don't even feel hungry.
Do you feel bloated?
Not at all.
All right. Yeah,
not one bit.
Because I gave up breads too and rice and pastas about 8 months ago, and it's just you just totally feel lighter. And
lighter, yeah. You don't feel so sluggish.
So he's saying that the bulletproof coffee does it help you with the fats, provide energy, and then not eating as much, or is it just one of these things that supplies so much nutrients in it in that one hit that you're good for some time?
Well, yeah, because eventually what happens is like you start burning fat a lot more effectively than you burn carbohydrates, and then all your diet becomes basically fat and protein. You start to learn to get rid of the carbohydrates, and you feel horrible for a few weeks. Like, you feel absolutely wretched until your body, I think, builds the metabolic machinery within your muscles to burn the fat more effectively. And the way you look at it is, say, like one unit of carbohydrates has 4 units of energy, where fat has, say, 20. So it's 5 times more effective in energy supplying. And I think that's why it keeps you fuller for longer and makes you, not hungry and stuff. And there's so many benefits to it that I've found that just help me day to day. Even in the racing, I eat breakfast and can't be bothered eating lunch. Like, I eat with all the mechanics at, say, 8 o'clock, and then by like 11, 12 o'clock they're all going to lunch. I'm like, where are they going? Oh, they're going for lunch. I'm like, oh, I'm not hungry. It's kind of weird. It's just a different mentality and a different way of eating. But it's been really good because almost 10 years ago I had chronic fatigue, and if you know anything about that sort of disease, is it a disease? I don't even know.
I think disease,
condition.
Condition.
Yeah, so that condition like really, really rattled me. I had like a partial chronic fatigue syndrome. Like, I wake up in the morning, my legs are really sore. I wasn't even training. I, struggled to get out of bed. I was just falling asleep at 10 o'clock, and I'd eat lunch, and then I'd, couldn't work and stuff, and I was just absolutely wretched. And, part of it was, lifestyle, diet, exercise. At that time in my life, I was partying really hard because I was young, and I was flat out exercising, and I wasn't eating properly. So I had to sort of look at all those pillars and change my entire perspective on my life. And, diet was a big thing. Learning to eat low GI food, and then learning to eat fat, learning to eat more fat, cutting out all the crap, cutting out all the sugars, cutting out, everything that's bad for me. Learning a lot. I've basically gone on this huge exploration to find where I am now, which is, I find myself very healthy. I haven't been sick in a long time. I think I perform and function pretty good during the day. So, it was kind of a weird thing. Obviously the partying side had to go, and the training side was reduced. So, I could fight that disease or condition.
Excellent. In regards to where you are now and where you were when you were in your late teens, early 20s, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Oh man, I don't even know.
Are you a champion?
That's the hardest question to ask anyone, I reckon. Where I see myself in 10 years, obviously I'm focused on trying to win the Supercar Championship, which is, if I had the same car as last year and the same team, I think it might have been a little bit easier to help me do that. But this year, because I've moved teams, the team's moved manufacturer, they've sacked all their staff in Queensland, they've moved down to Melbourne, rehired all new staff, and we're basically building a whole new team from scratch. So there's a lot of hard work initially, but in a few races time or even 6 months time, we might start to know how we're going. But for right now, it's too early to give a prediction. But in 10 years, man, I'd love to be still racing cars, still enjoying it, still loving fitness, maybe have a couple of fights, Muay Thai fights, I don't know.
There you go.
I'll see.
Do you ever want to move overseas and maybe try yourself at NASCAR or anything like that?
Man, I'd love to, but NASCAR is it's just a completely different sport than the one I do in Australia. They're an oval-based sport. It's like trying to tell a soccer player to go play AFL. That's my sort of analogy about it, because even though you're still kicking a ball, it's completely different codes. But I'd love to go overseas and start doing more of the GT3 endurance series, like the 24-hour at Spa, Dubai, maybe Nürburgring, some of the really, really famous cool tracks around the world I'd love to go compete in.
When would you say that a race car driver reaches his peak? Because obviously we saw Peter Brock driving well into his 50s and things like that. And
yeah.
Obviously, you just turned 30, is that correct?
Just turned, 30. halfway through 30.
Yeah, and you've obviously you've come third last year, so that's your best finished position. When do you think you'll be hitting your peak? Like mid-30s, sort of late 30s?
Honestly, I don't really know. There's no real. It's not a sprinter where they go. It's like 26 to 30s. They're sort of peak, sort of prime. It's not really like that. It's a mental driven sport. As long as you can have the same reflexes and the same eyesight visibility as you do when you're a young kid.
Yep.
I think you can keep going till you're 50. Russell Ingall, he only stopped racing full time a few years ago, and he was in his 50s. I know that. He didn't tell anyone. He said he was like 43. He wasn't 43 at all.
Dave, obviously your rivals, you've got guys like Craig Lowndes, Garth Tander, Dean Cano, Greg Murphy, James Courtney, just to say a few. Who's the guy that really, gets you up to race? Someone that you want to chase around the track and someone that you want to beat?
Someone you want to beat?
Yeah, man. Who's that guy that if you're behind him, you just want to get ahead of him?
Like Jamie Whincup, man. Like, because even though I'm really good friends with him, and if you're ever beating him or in front of him, you've had a good day.
Yeah, okay.
He's like that sort of. He's the benchmark of our series. The last sort of 8 years, he's won the championship 6 times. He's very, very good at his job. So anytime you're in front of him or you're behind him, you got to try and get past him because you're going to have a good day.
Dave, just a quick personality question. It's something I ask all
my
guests. So Dave Reynolds. Dave Reynolds hosts a dinner party with 5 invites. Now, you can't invite any of your close family or friends, and you can't invite your girlfriend. You've got 5 invites, dead or alive. Who are those 5
Dead
people?
or alive.
5 people, man.
Who would I get? Conor McGregor. Because he's fucking funny.
He is.
Probably Ayrton Senna, Nicholas Tesla, because he's really smart.
Yeah.
Who else would I get? Sorry, did you say 5?
5, man.
5. No friends, no family.
No friends, no family.
No friends, no family.
You would chuck a couple.
Probably James. Hey?
A couple chicks in there, would you?
Oh yeah, I'd get James Dean.
Attaboy.
Yeah.
Oh no, sorry, maybe River Phoenix.
Okay.
He's probably got some cool stories.
Yeah, I'm sure he would.
And the last has to be a really hot chick. I don't know. Well, I used to grow up watching Baywatch, so probably Carmen Electra.
Oh, I thought you were going to say
Carmen. I thought you were going to say Pam.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, yeah, Pam Anderson. That's the one.
Sorry, mate.
Both of
She's
those
actually
are good.
booked that night. She's coming to my party.
Yeah.
Is she?
Yeah,
I just like hearing cool stories from people. Like, I'm not really much of a talker. I'm more of a listener.
Yeah, we really appreciate having you on. And one thing we also like to ask our guests, doesn't have to do with your field, but for anybody listening, could you leave us with some maybe words of motivation, inspiration that's helped you, get through some times to get to where you are today?
Yeah, for sure. Back in 2007, I had a pretty horrific accident, and always have good people around you. Always have close people around you. Back when I had a massive accident in 2007, at the end of 2007, I was cut down pretty badly, and always rely on your family and make sure you have them close to you, and they've been fantastic for me for my entire life. So I love my family. They're so cool. Even though I love mocking them, I love having them around.
Yeah, definitely. You've got to have a little bit of banter with them.
Yeah.
Dave, you just...
I don't know. I can talk about this stuff for hours, but I don't know. Just do whatever makes you feel comfortable.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. Like, I always get told, everyone thinks I'm a lot different to all the V8 supercar drivers out there, because I always speak my mind. I'm never afraid to be myself, which is, probably my biggest thing I talk about. Never afraid to be yourself and talk about whatever you want to talk about. Doesn't matter if it's funny or stupid or doesn't make sense. I don't know, that's basically it, really.
That's awesome words, Dave. Just you obviously mentioned social media. You've got a lot of fans out there. For those that aren't following you yet across the social medias, what's the best way to contact you, man?
Oh yeah, okay. On Twitter and Instagram, I'm Dafford Reynolds, like DAFFID REYNOLDS, and I think David Reynolds was taken at the time, and at the time when it all came out, my little cousin Alex, he was watching Little Britain, and there's a character in there named Dafford, and he was calling me Dafford for some reason. It's just basically stuck, and yeah, so you can look me up on that and talk to me. I'm pretty hopeless at using it, and I never really talk about my job much on there. I only use it for comedy stuff, so unless it's funny, I don't put it up.
Yeah, man. Thanks a lot for being on again, David.
No worries, thanks boys. Thanks for having me. It's been good fun.
Nah, definitely. We have to get you on during the race season too, man.
Yeah, good luck
Yeah,
with
for
the
sure.
upcoming season.
Please ring me anytime.
Yeah, man, and I think we're going to be down in Melbourne actually for the Fit Expo.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have to hit you up and maybe grab a couple of beers, Dave.
Yeah, I'd love to. That'd be cool.
Awesome,
Real
man.
cool.
Well, we'll be in touch soon.
Thanks, boys. Thanks for
Thanks
having
for
me.
your time, man. David Reynolds.
David Super Car V8 Reynolds.
Yeah, interesting character. I do like how he closed out though with something. I mean, you talk about a lot about surrounding yourself with really good people, and really, I like the word about family.
Yeah, life is difficult regardless of what you do, and I've been both sides of. I think when we go through things, go through issues, go through bad times, it may be an instinct of humans to isolate ourselves. Looking back, it's very important to have people around you for that support, also for that perspective. So it has become a common denominator when we do ask that question, which I feel is an important question. Family. Billy Dibb talked about it. Austin talked about it. John Wayne. It's very important to be around people who care about you when you're going through bad times.
Yeah, I think surrounding yourself with good people and constantly communicating with them. Like, I was with Mum the other night and we were having dinner. And this is not something I even was aware that I was doing.
Yeah.
All my big decisions in my life, I've always included my mum in that decision making. Always. And I wasn't aware until we had dinner the other day and she goes, something I really love about you is you always include me in your decision making.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And it made me think, well, yeah, she's probably the person I trust the most in the whole world.
That's awesome. Was there ever a time where you felt disconnected from your family?
No, not at all.
Ever?
I actually feel more connected now. I actually like spending nights and going to dinner with them and making sure, because I know we've both spoken about it a lot, like you just don't know how long you've got, as you know, somber as that sounds a little bit.
It's true.
You don't really know how long
Yeah,
we've got together, you know what I mean?
That works both ways. Somber, yes, for the person who thinks about it as a sad thing. Happy and joyous for a person who relishes the present. So it's very important to be aware that our time is limited. Also, be aware of the ones who are in our lives to help us. I feel when I was younger, in my 20s, I isolated myself a lot. I moved around a lot, and I felt that there was a weird, interesting phenomenon that occurred within inside me that I felt I would burden people by putting my issues on them. So I always internalized. And not so recently, when I made the huge move to a different continent and country, was it that I realized that my family is there to help. So I chat with them way more often. I see them more often. When I was living in California, I wasn't going home every year, and that was in the same country. Now, living in Australia, I go home twice a year.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Now I know I'm growing. I'm getting more mature, and my priorities are falling into different places, but they've always been there for me.
Yeah.
And I feel fortunate for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a big thing that you go back twice a year. I think it helps you recharge, would you say, as well? And
Yeah, to see, I have nieces, nephews, my aunts, uncles, grandmother, all of my sisters, my mom, everyone lives in the same town in Northeast Ohio. I was the only one that really left.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's their choice. There's beautiful parts of every town, but I just always had this feeling inside me that I just couldn't stay in one place.
Yeah, you had to see what the other part of the world was like. And it's good that you expanded out, so I'm sure you've learned a lot. But saying that, like, you just did touch on it, like, some cities get really bad raps. Like, I know you're from Youngstown, I grew up in Blacktown, and people say some really nasty things about both places. But unless you know the heart of the place, let me tell you, every town's got something of love.
I love the saying about because I used to be. I don't want to say embarrassed, but I spent 7 years in Southern California. So there was a time in my life where somebody would ask me where I was from, and I would say Long Beach. And just in the last few years, I've realized I'm not from there. I'm from Northeast Ohio. I'm from Youngstown. I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
And when people, if they do comment negatively, I actually have a story about that. I was up in Byron Bay for the Blues Festival last year, and there was an American there. And he came up to our group, and he was really loud, really obnoxious, really drunk. And he asked where I was from, and I said that, and he started talking shit, and like very ignorantly. And I didn't even have to respond. My buddies who know me, who care about me, who aren't from Ohio, they're actually from England, they took over the situation and basically let the guy know that, like, you know what, not everybody, I like what I hear, like, not everybody could be from where I'm from.
Exactly.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's an old steel
I'm sure
town.
You've learnt some things being there that other people won't experience. So they don't get that sort of side of it.
Yeah.
It's just where you're from. You don't choose where you're from.
Oh, you just have to embrace it.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can't run
and you don't choose what race, nationality, colour, anything you are.
All that type of stuff where you see, I feel a lot of bigotry and a lot of intolerance comes from the fact of people judging people on things that they're not in control of. Now, if you judge a man on his actions, you're still judging. But his actions usually, they speak for him. But if you judge a man on the color of their skin, where they come from, how they speak, what they sound like, what they look like, their height, all of these things that they're not in control of, they were just given this body. They didn't choose who they were. You know what I mean? Like, we don't get to choose any of that. All we get to choose is what we have and then how we deal with that.
Yeah, and as we spoke about before, we choose to be kind. You know what I mean? Like, you can be kind. It's one choice that you've got in life, to be kind. You don't have to be picking on someone because of all those things that you just erased. So,
have you ever seen how angry people get in, like, road rage scenarios? Have you been in a road rage scenario?
not really, no.
So I was thinking about this, just the other night, and you're in traffic and you cut somebody off, and the guy who cuts you off comes right up to you, and they're just going crazy, screaming at you, flipping the bird. And initially, back in the day when things like that would happen to me, I would fight fire with fire and give them the response they were looking for. And just recently, everything I've been reading and everything I've been focusing on internally about myself, I've realized that has been them. There's an anchor to that. That's not them just in that moment. That's something that person has been carrying with them a long time. That angst, that anger, that hate. And they're the ones who need to deal with that, and it has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you just have to let that be, and what I get to choose to do is just be happy and just be, I guess, tolerant of their behavior. But yeah, it's situations like that of, I think when we're younger, we tend to throw fire on the fire rather than just walk away.
I think you make some really good points there, man. Like, yeah, I think it's better things to do in life than actually chase someone up about maybe cutting them off. The other person might not even know they cut them off.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
I heard a story exactly that more often than not, you're not waking up that morning with the intent of cutting somebody off. You're not waking up in the morning of ruining somebody's day. I hope there aren't. I'd like to think there aren't people out there that are like that, but it is so much easier of a task. I talked about this on one of our last shows, that an experiment, I'm all about social experiments. Living in Sydney, I'm put in a lot of different social scenarios in regards to public transportation. Working at a commercial health club, you're in a lot of public space with a lot of other people. So I like watching people's reactions when I choose not to do what they expect me to do. And so, for instance, I'm on the subway and it's packed. And people, when you get to your stop, everyone's just shuffling out, not worrying about who's next to them. It's all about you. But I like now standing up and blocking everyone behind me and letting all the people in front of me who are there in front of me go first, and then their faces. And then if I look over my shoulder, the people behind me who can't go, because I'm allowing the people in front of me to go first, their faces. It's just interesting. Am I an asshole?
You're an
interesting
human. Yes.
I'm not fucking with anyone. It's just like, dude, it's not our turn. Be a little more tolerant. And if you're not going to do it, I'll be the speaker for tolerance on this one moment.
You got to. And I hate people that you see the old, like the elderly lady or elderly gentleman, and they don't give up the seat for him or her. That kills me, man.
And see, I'm guilty of it. Not like that's weird you say that. I had the opportunity today, this morning, but the guy, he had white hair. He's probably in his late 50s, and he was standing.
Yeah.
And
so it's a bit of a.
I know.
The guys, you go, oh, this guy might not even be old.
Yeah, and my girlfriend called me out one time for doing the opposite. She's like, "Don't get up for that person. He's not even that old. Don't get up for them." So now I'm thinking both sides. How do I pull the trigger? So I'm thinking I'm going to reserve that right just for the old woman.
It's just courtesy. I usually stand up for most females as well.
What do you think about Reynolds' knowledge about the thing I was impressed with talking to David was, man, you really have to be invested in everything about the car, man. I was under the impression
you don't just turn up and drive.
That's what some sports are like that. You get a guy who's really good at basketball.
He needs to know
just give him
every
the ball?
single part of that car.
Yeah,
He needs to feel the car. I think.
yeah. The chair mold.
Because a quarter of the second, that's all that separates all the drivers. So there's not.
He knew about that. He corrected me, or didn't, he enlightened me on the G-force question, which I was interested in. That was a question that was given to me by somebody online. So I'll text message them, and they know who they were. But that was a specific question that was asked from a fan. They wanted to know about the G-force and do they train for that with the body and everything I read about it, astronauts and pilots do, but he talked about the longitudinal G-force and how it's different with his sport. I was impressed with that. I was impressed with his knowledge when we touched on nutrition, when he's doing like the paleo. I think it's borderline. Are you familiar with like ketosis?
Mm-hmm.
Like having, fats burn your calories.
Fats, definitely. So a lot of that stuff.
Limited processed sugars,
eating,
things like that.
Like bacon, that's pretty good for them. They love their oils. That sort of side.
The
of things.
MCT
they pretty much
oil.
replace their carbs with those healthy fats, pretty much.
Yeah, he pretty much, the only thing I ever hear about David Reynolds from the media are these 15 to 20 second sound bits of basically controversial statements. And the unfortunate thing about somebody with a high profile like David and other people, we only know them from what the media gives to us.
Yeah, he speaks his mind. So that's
which is what do we call? That's authentic.
Yeah, that's called, they're backing their ability. They're being confident. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes, they might be thinking like they're trying to entertain, but sometimes they don't realise it's on the big screen. And sometimes the media want to do is just trap them for that one little comment, and then they've got what they needed. They don't even care about whether you helped your grandma out yesterday, but they'll care if you make one little comment about some females driving a car.
Yeah, and I think that has a lot more to say about the person who's judging from the comment rather than the person delivering the comment.
Yeah.
Talking to David, I'm really excited for the race season to start. It's upon us.
Well, he's got a new challenge. He's got a brand new car. He came third last year. So
New
he's got
sponsor?
He's changed car.
Yeah? Is that now? Does that go if you change car? Does that mean you change sponsorship?
Yes.
Okay. So he was
So that's
Ford,
big because he was Ford
and now he's
back to
Holden.
Holden.
Okay.
But the thing with that is obviously his team before was already established. They're starting from the ground up again.
So does that team come with him, or does he have a whole new crew?
I think he's got a whole new crew.
Wow, like from the on the track with him, changing everything.
Everything.
I'd like to talk to one of those guys too. In America, during the NASCAR season, you have the Daytona 500. You have all these huge races, and that's the only time of the year where they kind of get this media. But
their ability to change tires, and do anything is huge.
They're athletes. A lot of them are former athletes. The pit crew.
Yeah, the pit crew.
I'm interested in maybe we should reach out to some guys in the pit crew to get them in here to see their training.
Well, last day, maybe we get one of his boys on there.
Excellent.
Cool. Well, just a big shout out, guys. Thank you again for supporting the show. Really appreciate it. So, if you can, please leave us a 5-star review and also just subscribe via iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher.
Keep sending your thoughts and ideas on who we should get on. I really appreciate when we check our email and we have submissions from fans about check this person out. They're not super famous yet, but investigate what they're doing. And continue on doing that. You can email us at info@thevisionboardpodcast.com. And we're on Twitter, the Vision Board.
Twitter, Facebook, that's where we put the guests that are coming up. So you do have an opportunity to ask some questions. So make sure that you just like and you can leave us some comments on them. So get involved.
Excellent. Tristan Cannell, you enjoy the rest of your week.
You too, Johnny Stuffco.
Rock and roll.
Peace.
It makes me wanna breathe. I got something for your mind, your body, and your soul. I got something for your mind, your body, and your soul.
The Vision Board Podcast, hosted by Johnny Stofko and Tristan Cannell.